plist and JSON, or JSON files, are one of those concepts that take practice to fully grasp. In this playground, I've demonstrated some really practical examples for using each. But before we look at the code, let's take a look at some plist and JSON files. So I'm going to go over here to the resources folder, and let's start by looking at the students.plist. So if we look here at the top, we notice that this contains an array, and within the array we have dictionaries. Now for each dictionary, we have key value pairs representing some things related to students. So we have a key name that maps to a string value. In this case, the value is Sean. We have an age key that maps to a number value, in this case 57. And we have a school key that maps to another string, in this case the University of Maryland. Each of these dictionaries could easily be converted into a simple struct. That's what this first code example does. So here at the top of the file, we've defined a student struct with a name and age and school. These next lines of code are critical. This line here creates a path, represented as a URL, that tells us where the student's plist is located. Then this next line of code takes that path, again that's represented as a URL, and loads it into an array, and we're calling this students array. Now some of the code that's going on here you haven't quite seen yet, but you can probably make sense of it. It uses classes, which are similar to structs, and they have their own functions, like URL for resource, that belong to them. We'll get to classes later. For now, I just want to focus on the task at hand, which is working with plist and JSON data. Now, another thing I want to note is the reason that we're loading this into an array instead of maybe a dictionary is if we go back to the plist file, we can see here at the top that the root of this plist file is an array and not a dictionary. So that's key. In the next lines of code, we loop through the students array and we check for those key value pairs, name, age, and school. And if each of those key value pairs exist, then we create a student struct and we append it to our students structs array. Then at the bottom, I have this simple use case where we print some information about each student. Now this printing is pretty trivial, but imagine if this student data was loaded from the plist file into the student structs and then we displayed it in some slick looking user interface. Well, that would be pretty sweet, and you'll start building towards doing things like this as you start building apps from scratch.